All right, so you can also do font and font size. So font family is kind of a hard thing to know what you can do because basically it has to be fonts that they have already installed on the computer. Now, luckily enough, because we've been using Microsoft Visual Studio Code, what you'll notice is if I do, let's just do another P element here, and say, this is text. What I could do is if I do style good equals, and then we'll do font family. You'll see that when you type in font family, it'll actually give you all these options, okay? Which is great. Now, what's weird about it is you're going to see this, it says Gill Sans MT, Calibri, Trebuchet, or Franklin Medium, Gothic Medium, Arial Narrow, Arial, and then probably sans serif. What it's doing is this. It will try to use this font first, the first one that's listed. If for some reason they don't have, because that'll be the most unique font, right? That's has the most style almost to it. Then what we'll do is it will, if the person does not have this font installed on the computer, it will then do Arial Narrow. And if they don't have Arial Narrow, then they'll have Arial, right? And if they don't have Arial, then they'll have sans serif. Because basically each one of these gets a little less specific, okay? The hope is that they'll have the first one, and then you can just go from there. So I can just choose this one, and you'll see it'll do Gill Sans, blah, blah, blah. So these are supposed to be somewhat generic that hopefully everybody has them, but there's simple things where just, if you have an Apple computer, the default fonts on Apple computer are just not the same as a PC, right? As a Windows machine, and the different, therefore, from a Linux machine. So there is a workaround that we'll cover later on, but for now, this will at least get you some sort of formatting as far as the font family, that the typeface that you choose. Okay, so that's one thing you can do. It's relatively straightforward. There's also font size. So font size, you can see, basically is the size of the font. We can label it basically in three ways here. You'll see there is by pixels, which, if you remember, pixels are picture elements, which means every dot on your screen is a pixel, or in an image is a pixel, and it's an absolute value. In the beginning, we'll just use this. That's totally fine. But in the future, this actually isn't what you want to use because people have different resolution screens. 12 pixels on a projector would be pretty large, but 12 pixels on a phone would be really small. There's also font size, which will do it based on the percentage of the screen size. So if I do it 200%, it's going to look at what the default is of the screen size, and then it's going to adjust to it. So sometimes they call this like liquid or fluid. It's okay to some degree. For the most part, really stay away from this. Even this to some degree is better because this is kind of unpredictable. And then the last one are EMs, which just stands for the letter for the width of the letter M, which is a little bit confusing, but basically it means whatever the default font size is of the browser that you're in, it will take that and then it'll be a percentage higher. So this will make it 1.3, so it'll make it like 30% higher than, or larger than it would normally be. This is typically good for responsive sites. You'll see later on. We'll be trying to use this more and more as we go because this will be a little bit more responsive to the text, to whatever device and browser that they are currently viewing it on. But for now, you can just go ahead and use this pixel thing. That's totally fine.